is heaven. This is heaven.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us again for She's Howard Own Your Power. For those of you who I have not had a chance to introduce myself to, my name is Nicole Munson. I'm the executive sponsor of She's Howard Own Your Power and a very proud graduate of Howard University School of Law. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. And for those of you who joined us previously, I know that you are in for another fantastic evening. I can't wait to have the conversation with Clinique. You know, it's a brand that's known by many people for its skincare products and for makeup, but I love Clinique, and I have loved Clinique since I was so much younger because of the fragrance Happy. And I thought for a while that Happy wasn't being made anymore, but we definitely still make it. I think we call it happiness in a bottle, and it definitely is that. And so thank you again for joining us, and a huge thank you to the Clinique team who's here with us this evening. It is my pleasure to introduce Susan Akkad, who's going to kick off the evening for us. Susan is the Senior Vice President for Local and Cultural Innovation here at the Estee Lauder Companies. Susan is responsible in her position for collaborating with our more than 25 brands globally to develop and expand our product and commercial innovation relevancy with global skins and cultures of color, and importantly, our ageless consumers. Susan began her career in cosmetics at Estee Lauder International in the Public Relations Department in 1986. She left the company to work with her husband and his startup design firm in the fashion industry based in New York and Paris. And after spending almost 10 years in fashion, she decided to return to beauty, and she worked for Lancome for some period of time. She missed the Estee Lauder Companies and decided to rejoin Estee Lauder. She came back in 1999, and she worked on the Clinique brand. She was the Clinique Vice President of Global Treatment Marketing, a position she held for 6 years. Following Susan's role in Clinique, she became Vice President of Global Marketing at Origins, our brand Origins. And prior to her current role, Susan was Senior Vice President of Global Communications and Artist Relations at MAC, overseeing the communication strategy for MAC Cosmetics and the MAC AIDS Fund. Susan is a very frequent speaker on the subject of cultural marketing, relevancy, and innovation at industry events, as well as universities and business schools, including Harvard, MIT, and Columbia. Susan was a keynote speaker at the Condé Nast International Luxury Conference in 2019, and she has been profiled in Vogue. You may have also seen her in Essence, and she was named one of Black Enterprise Magazine's top women executives in advertising and marketing in 2013, and then again in 2016. In 2015, Susan was recognized by WWD Beauty as one of the 50 most influential in the multicultural beauty market. And 2010 and 2017, Susan was named as one of Ebony's Power 100. Susan is from Virginia, where she grew up near Charlottesville. She holds undergraduate degree in Near Eastern Languages and Civilizations from Harvard. She's on the board of governors of Cosmetic Executive Women, CEW, and on the board of trustees of the East Hampton Library. She lives in East Hampton with her husband, an Italian Greyhound. Really what I want to say about Susan, if you couldn't already tell, is she's a force. And she's a force here at the Estee Lauder Companies, and we are privileged to have her here with us tonight. She has been, as you heard, in several parts of the organization. And really what Susan does and is so valued is to make sure that we are being relevant and being relevant for us and for products that resonate for us in our communities. And so Susan, just a huge thank you for all the work that you do and your commitment in this space, making sure that for global skins and cultures of color, that we are seen and that we are heard. And without any further ado, I will turn it over to Susan.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Nicole, and right back at you. You are an incredible force, and I am so lucky to know you and to work with you and to be, partners in crime with you. So thank you. I am delighted to be here with you, the Howard family. Good evening and welcome. I'm really looking forward to talking with you about my role at the Estee Lauder companies and specifically my journey with Clinique. My uncle and my grandfather on my mother's side were Howard grads, so it's a very special place in our family. Everybody on my dad's side was Virginia State. So we're big HBCU folks in my household. Um, I thought I would share a little bit about the journey to and with Clinique and about the work that I do now to advance relevancy for cultures of color. I've been at the company for 22 years. We're back at 22 years since 99 and began as an executive director of marketing at Clinique and sort of my professional career. But my experience with Clinique started way before that. It started when I was in college, when I was 17 years old. I had very sensitive skin my whole life, which I now know is extremely common in Black skin. I did not know that at the time. I didn't know why I was so uncomfortable. I didn't know why sometimes it was even painful. I put products on and literally I felt like I was on fire, and even like the palms of my hands would be red. But I grew up in a Southern household. And if any of you are Southerners out there, everything is heavily fragranced. You have like those wonderful little soaps that are shaped like roses that are in the glass dish in the bathroom. And you have the little ones that are shaped like seashells and they're beautiful. And you have the liners in your chest of drawers are fragrance. It's just so much a part of the Southern and Black culture. And I didn't realize that that was honestly torturing my skin. So freshman year in college, I somehow ended up at the Clinique counter at Jordan Marsh in Boston because they gave students who were completely broke a credit card. And I learned that I had sensitive skin. I also had oily skin at the time and was severely dehydrating my skin in an effort to control the oil, which is another extremely common mistake in the Black community. And the Clinique consultant explained to me that, in fact, my combination of oily and sensitive skin actually needed very gentle treatment, which was kind of the opposite of what I had been doing. And that dehydrating your skin actually makes you produce more oil, which I didn't know. And that's like a key lesson that I share over and over again now because it's so important to educate our community about the importance of skin health and sort of properly hydrated skin. So the consultant sent me, packing with some products and some samples, and she called me at my dorm, to check on me, and like I was hooked. So I've been using Clinique since then. So it's been 40 years, you can do the math. But I've got to say, in my life stage now, I'm actually even more sensitive than I was when I was 17. And, that's why when I got the call in 1999 to interview for a role at Clinique, I was over the moon. I was like the kid in the candy store. You mean actually work for the brand that I love? Like I couldn't even believe it. So as you heard in my intro, I spent most of my 6 years at Clinique as the vice president of global treatment marketing, which means skincare. And I had lots of experiences that set me on the course for where I am now. Of course, I learned a lot about skin physiology and the root causes of key concerns for Black people and skins of color. I started my exposure to the dermatology community, which was fascinating, which, in addition to learning about skin conditions from their perspective, as you would expect, one of the most valuable things I learned was the impact of our cultural practices and products that we use that are very deeply cultural and how it affects our skin. So for example, to give it a perfect example is, the old school pomades. And then you would get, like the clogged pores along the hairline. We even call it pomade acne. The derms even call it pomade acne. But that was a skin condition that was triggered by a cultural practice. Another thing that, I learned was, the acne mark, we often call it in the community a scar, is a bigger concern than the pimple itself. If you have lighter skin, you're really worried about the red pimple. If you have darker skin, you're like, okay, the pimple is like, candy. What I'm worried about is the mark. And so that's how different skins experience, the same problem. But a key experience for me while I was at Clinique and really changed the course of my career and changed what I learned about myself was a project with our Japan team. We had been very dominant in Japan and it started struggling. So I really needed to understand, why and to fix it. Like that was my job, right? And so, off I went, had never been to Japan, didn't know much about it. And did know that very high aesthetic, love the art, love the culture. You knew the great attention to detail, but I really didn't know, the beauty experience. So what I thought I was going to learn was about the differences in what women wanted from like their skincare products and textures or the way we communicated in our advertising. And in fact, that all was important. But in addition, it was an exercise in how do you go about understanding a different beauty culture? What is beautiful? Why? Why are certain things important or not? How does what we say as a brand about products, but importantly, what we say as a brand about what we think is beautiful make people feel? And the biggest learning and hardest lesson I got was how incredibly biased I am. And I was constantly comparing this culture that wasn't familiar to me to what I knew, which made my American culture the default and the Japanese culture different. And I really had to work hard at neutralizing that and just taking things in for what they are and not in relationship to something else. And the key to doing that was really building these great and trusting relationships with my Japanese colleagues so I could learn through them and I could see beauty through their eyes. And the bonus round is, some of those are still my closest colleagues within the company. So, this lesson and the value of building these deep insider relationships to help me has actually been the key to how I do my job now. So in the world today, and for the past 12 years, it's really to be this strategic partner and collaborator with our brands, mostly in product development and marketing, but also in other areas, to advance our relevancy for skins and cultures of color, not just here in the United States, but countries of color around the world, such as, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Mexico, India. What we do is we really think of it as like a three-legged stool. So one leg is, the physiology, like what does having more melanin in your skin mean in terms of, what you need and desire from your products? What does your difference in eye shape mean? What does the difference in the fullness of your lip mean? What does the difference in your hair texture mean for benefits and performance? That's one leg. And that's honestly race-based, right? That's genetic. Then we look at skin color, which isn't race. Color is just phenotype, right? And the impact of your color on designing products. And you would typically think of this for makeup, but it also impacts skincare, as well. And then finally, we look at culture, and I'm like a total anthropology geek. So it's hard for me to pick which of these is my favorite, but the culture part really jazzes me. And you look at, what do you value? What's beauty? How do your beauty desires and behaviors, how are they affected by your culture? How do we communicate in a cultural context with our brands? So a great example is the importance of naturals in the Black community. So obviously naturals are hugely on trend, but it's not a trend for Black people, right? This is forever. This is heritage. And perfect example is, aloe, which is one of the featured ingredients in Clinique's Moisture Surge 100-hour moisturizer. But it's a heritage plant in our community. Everybody has an aloe in the kitchen. I don't know anybody who didn't grow up with aloe in the kitchen, right? And it's heritage for the Black community. It's also heritage for the Latin community who, treats different aloe origins, whether it's Mexican aloe or California aloe, kind of the way Italians treat olive oil. Like it's really like nuance, right? So if you dialed up the aloe as the heritage ingredient in the product, in the storytelling, when you're specifically storytelling to these communities, it's a win. And sure enough, this product has been incredibly successful and loved in the Black and Latin community. So that's a little bit of a whirlwind of my 40 years of experience and love affair with Clinique as a customer, as a marketer. I work with the team now in my role. I like to say my blood runs green. Clinique is like my real love, and what that role on the brand taught me about being a better marketer and taught me about myself. So now I'm going to turn it over to Simone Ciffordini to lead our spotlight on Clinique.
Hello, everyone. My name is Simone Ciffordini, and I'm the VP of Global Omnichannel Education at Clinique. And I am thrilled and privileged to be a part of the She's Howard program. I wish I could be there more in person. Unfortunately, I have to do this recording because today my eldest son is graduating from high school. And I kind of think that's fitting because of the importance of education and being a lifelong learner. And that has always been celebrated at Clinique. This quote from Mr. Leonard Lauder is near and dear to my heart as the head of Clinique Education. It is also what has made Clinique a unique and iconic brand. Over the next 50 minutes, you will hear from a panel who represent diverse backgrounds and disciplines here at Clinique: human resources, education and operations, product development for both skincare and makeup, and of course, Ms. Susan Akkad, who is such an important part of the fabric of this brand and a North Star in our efforts to meet the needs of all consumers, addressing the most prevalent concerns such as uneven skin tone, aging, and acne. Instead of listening to me ramble on about this beloved brand, I would like to share the story of Clinique from a vantage point of those who created it.
I had an ambition to make Estee Lauder multi-branded.
Mrs. Estee Lauder was a force to be dealt with. Leonard looked around and he said, who else is my competition?
He wanted the competition to come from within.
Smart thinking at that time.
Oh my God, yes, he was a visionary.
I had just seen the Hitchcock film, To Catch a Thief, and I remember the phrase, it takes a thief to catch a thief. It takes someone who understands Estee Lauder to compete with Estee Lauder, and that became Clinique.
It's a cult. You drink the Kool-Aid here.
We were a family growing up in cosmetics.
I'm sure it's genetic. None of us can sing. They didn't get that gene.
And I don't know what goes on when they're sitting around the dinner table.
When you eat and sleep and breathe cosmetics.
The Lauder family is kind of crazy.
No. Okay, let's go.
Allergy tested, fragrance free, great skin. Yes, it can be created.
I used to consider Carol the mother and myself the father, and Leonard Lauder was the guy who made the arrangement.
My grandmother, on the other hand, could not imagine there could be competition to her brand with her name on it.
I remember the discussion, and Carol Phillips was talking about major change in the way women should look at cosmetics.
It's wonderful, it's wonderful.
The name Clinique came from my wife, Evelyn Lauder.
He and Evelyn were driving along in France, and she saw a clinic.
A normal name you see all over.
My mother said, why not Clinique?
We have MAC, Smashbox, and we have Tom Ford, and they're all very racy. And then you get to, you know, some clean old-fashioned fun with Clinique.
Clinique is like the good girl.
Good girl that has a lot of adventure and a lot of spirit.
That's really kind of the smart woman's brand.
Clinique has always been anchored in products.
Product is the hero.
Clinique is the good girl, but I think we need to think about what the interpretation of good girl is.
Yes, love, love. I got a little piece of you, and it's just like
You say Clinique and everybody knows it.
Clinique is a cult.
I don't know if I want to share that.
It's a cult.
When Clinique was born, it was more about pleasing yourself rather than doing it for somebody else.
You could say for a man.
For a man.
It's maintained its uniqueness for so many years.
Come on, you gotta have a little fun. It's makeup.
So my personal story with Clinique starts decades ago. I was probably about 18 and I was struggling with fairly severe acne. And I went for an interview at Clinique. The woman interviewed me. She saw that I had, trouble with my skin. She gave me 3-step skincare and told me to come back for a second interview. When I came back, my skin was transformed. It cleared up beautifully. And she hired me. So later I asked her, did you hire me because you had to make sure, that my skin would clear up, and so you waited, and when you saw it did, you were like, okay, she can represent the brand. And she said no. She said, I had no worries that your skin would clear up. I knew it would. She goes, but I needed to know that when your skin did clear up, that you could look up from your shoes, that you could look me in the eye, that you could connect with me, because that was critical. If you were going to serve our consumers, that you could make connections. And to me, that is the very premise of this brand. Many of you may recognize this iconic image of our 3-step skincare. These 3 products formulated by our guiding dermatologist provide the very foundation for great skin. When skin is clean, exfoliated, and hydrated, it's at its healthiest. Glowing, light reflective, comfortable, smooth, clear, even are just a few indicators that your skin is performing optimally, and that is exactly why 3-step skincare is one of the most recognizable skincare regimes. One of the biggest pain points when it came to skincare was exactly that, painful. Before Clinique, many people were unable to use skincare and beauty products as their skin reacted, especially women and men of color. Again, in an effort to democratize access to products that could really make a noticeable difference in skin, we created a stringent and rigorous allergy testing protocol. We tested every single product 7,200 times on 600 people from across the Fitzpatrick scale. And even if one person showed any signs of irritation or reaction, the product would go back for reformulation or be scrapped completely. 1 is a very big number at Clinique because everyone matters. Today, we go even further. Now our testing is done in our facilities around the world. Our standards are even higher, the highest bar none. We use 50 years of data from our allergy testing, and then we layer in very recent scientific findings and continue with repeat insult patch testing on people from around the globe to ensure that our highly efficacious products can be used safely and without irritation in service of all skin. And to be in service of all skin, you sometimes need to be known more for what you don't include in your formulas than what you do include. Clinique was the very first 100% fragrance-free skincare and beauty brand. And today, we continue to be 100% fragrance-free and are adding other known irritants to that list. We continually consult our dermatologists, chemists, toxicologists, and regulatory governmental bodies to ensure we're offering the safest and most efficacious products. We continue to work closely with our guiding dermatologists, Dr. Norman Orentreik's son and daughter, Dr. Catherine and David Orentreik, and we have extended our access to specific needs by broadening our access to derms from around the globe, and they are experts in all skins and concerns. A key tenet of this brand from the very inception was customization. Using the questions that Dr. Norman Orentreik used in his office, the Clinique computer was the first skin diagnostic tool, allowing our highly skilled consultants to treat skin types and concerns with the most targeted and efficacious products. Today we have Clinique Clinical Reality. In a single scan, this diagnostic plots over 80 data points on your face against models built on over 50 years of skincare expertise and more than 1 million face scans. And that translates into results. And from that, we give you customized skincare recommendations. Our consultants are still highly skilled, empathetic, and dedicated to the mission of creating great skin. They are a very diverse team representing the communities in which they serve. Their dedication to and passion for their consumer has been recognized by independent customer service ranking publications around the world. So I've spoken about skincare and our approach to serving all skin, but equally important is providing an extensive offering in shades in all makeup categories. When I was a consultant in the late 80s and early 90s, I would feel terrible if a person would approach me looking for a foundation or an eyeshadow and I didn't have the appropriate shades. And to be quite honest, it was the only thing that I truly disliked about my job. I felt terrible for my client, and I was frustrated, even angry at Clinique and the beauty industry as a whole. Today, a Clinique consultant can guide anyone to the best shades for them. Often, if a store doesn't carry the full range due to space or some other reason, a client can still go to .com and choose from 56 shades of foundation, which is 4 times the number of shades since I was a consultant. We by no means are where we need to be in regards to shade offering in all makeup products, but we are humbly working towards a more comprehensive shade range. With this said, I would like to end with a quick video of where we are today as a brand and where we will continue to learn, grow, and evolve, always in service of all skin. And now I'd like to hand over to my dear friend John, who will be moderating our incredible panel. Thank you so much for having me today.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Miller. I am the Director of Global Education Development for the Omnichannel team at Clinique. And I'm excited to be moderating a panel of some of my favorite people in the brand. If you guys could all turn on your cameras so we can see everyone. We have the most amazing Maria Carlotta Leon from our Latin America team. We have Renee Ross, who is our champion of HR at Clinique and Estee Lauder. Miss Ada Wong, who's not only my best friend in the company, but she's also my neighbor outside my window, who is our VP of product development for skincare. And last but certainly not least, my buddy Nicole Huggins, who is in product development for makeup. Before we get on with our panel discussion, I saw some stuff happening in the chat, but I was running the program, so I wasn't able to actually follow it. Is there anything, team, that you think that we need to urgently answer before we move on? No questions that came up.
There was a question about night creams and also hand cream recommendations.
Oh yes, I think I saw that pop up. Is it Kiki? Asking about whether you should use a night cream or not, because you use a day cream with SPF. First of all, super high five to you for wearing a day cream with SPF. Otherwise, you're wasting your time on all your other products because the sun is the devil. Secondly, you know, as a Clinique consultant, I would always recommend somebody to have a day and a night cream. Your skin is in a different place at nighttime. It's doing different things. And it really depends on what your concern is as to, you know, why a night cream might be necessary. But I always usually recommend it because, you know, you go home, you have your dinner, you wash your face, your skin has been relieved of all the daily stuff, but it's now wide open. So at the very least, you want to replace the moisture. You want to put on a barrier so that your skin is protected from the environment. And then if there are other concerns that you have based on what's going on with your skin, then you would, move from one product to another. I mean, my go-to for a basic moisturizer that would be wonderful for nighttime would be our Moisture Surge 100 Hour, or our Moisture Surge Intense if you tend to be a more dry skin. And if you want more, obviously any Clinique consultant at any counter would be able to help you with that. And we can also do it online. I hope that answers the question. So before I go any further, I should tell you who the heck I am. I told you my position. I started my journey with Clinique like Susan, except about 42 years ago when I was about 17, do the math, get your calculator. And I was having terrible breakout, just like Simone. I wasn't there for a job interview, I was just there to make it go away. And they made it go away. 3-Step changed my life then, 40 years ago. 3-Step has continued to change my life throughout the rest of my years. I joined Clinique in a professional standpoint back in 1995. So 26 years with the brand. I started as a consultant. I've been with education since 2000 and been in the global office here in New York since 2006. I want our panels, we have some questions for our panels that we thought you might love hearing the answers to. I'm going to start with Maria Carlotta Leon, who is our director in the lovely LATAM market. Maria Carlotta, can you just give the team just a quick intro to how you wound up with Clinique and what you do, what your current job is, but why you thought, as this amazingly powerful woman in Venezuela, you thought, "Ooh, I think I need to work for Clinique."
Yes, sure. Thank you, John. Hi, I am Maria Carlota Leon, Clinique Regional Omnichannel Education and Retail Operations Director for Latin region. As you can hear my Latina accent, and I am very privileged to be with all of you today as part of the Cheesehower program. So I love that question, John, because it gave me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about my story with Clinique. It's a love story for me. Yes, I have been in the company, in the brand for many, many years. This August will be my 33rd anniversary in the company, and I feel just as excited and motivated that working in the brand as when I started. I joined the brand as Clinique consultant, as you and Simone as well, in my native country, Venezuela, while I was studying in the university. At that moment, I was a Clinique consumer as well, as my mother introduced me to the famous Clinique 3-Step system, and I felt very attracted by the claims of the brand, allergy tested, fragrance-free, dermatologist developed, and the great skin can be created. And I thought, I want to work on that brand. So I remember, if I were today, the interview with the Clinique education manager at that time when I applied for the consultant's position. And she told me about the history of the brand and how it was born from an interview with an editor, the Vogue magazine, and the well-known dermatologist Norbert Orentrey, as you also in Simone's presentation. She also told me about how Clinique was different from other cosmetic brands, and for me was so inspiring to hear about how Clinique was for everyone, all the skin types, all the skin tones, all ages, all concerns. And it wasn't not one size fits for all. So for me, it was an amazing brand. So she also told me about the values for the brand, about the importance of under promise and under over delivering when you talk about service, and how important it is to always do the right thing for the customers and their skins. At the end of that interview, she told me about the importance of people at Clinique and the rest of the Clinique, the Silhouette company's brands. They were a career development opportunities for me. And she gave me some examples of people who I had started as Clinique consultant as I started, and they helped different positions in their brand or across the company. So I came out from that interview feeling so impressed and connected to everything she told me. And I was wishing, oh, please, 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 I want that job. I want to get the position. So I am so grateful that it happened to me. The most beautiful thing for me is that I have been able to experience and certify everything that she told me, that everything she shared with me is even more relevant today than ever. I have experience in firsthand, and today, 33 years later, I am holding a regional position representing Latin American countries, and I'm doing what I love every day, surrounded by the best people and the most talented people, and using and representing the most amazing products in a brand that is for all. So I am working in a also, for me, in a values-driven brand and a company's values-driven brand, where the individuals are very respected and we all share the same high standards and goals. So for me, it's an amazing brand and a company. And also we have the beautiful mission of bringing the best to everyone we touch and being the best in everything we do. So no day has passed for me without learning something from different people or experiences. And so for me, it has been and continue to be an amazing journey. And I can tell you that for me, I truly live my daily dose of happiness and optimism every day.
And you make everyone who ever has anything to do with you smile each and every time, Maria. Thank you so much. Renee Ross, if you could share a couple things with us, but first, tell us what you do at Clinique and how you wound up with us, but also what it is that Clinique is doing, to foster an inclusive environment. We saw Simone talk about inclusivity. We saw it in the video. If you could just be a little bit, take us down into the, the weeds, and what is it that we're really doing to foster that inclusive environment every day in the brand?
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I'm so honored to be on this panel and to spend time with all of you. My journey to Clinique was a bit of a stop and start. I've used Clinique ever since I was a young girl, and it cleared up my skin because a lot of what Susan said, oily skin, concerned about the dark spots after you have pimples and all of that good stuff or not so good stuff. Clinique was really a product that really worked very well for me. Hold on one moment, background. And, after that, I stopped using it for a while. My skin cleared up, great. I wanted to try other products, and then my skin broke out again. And I went right back to Clinique and used it. And just like Susan, just the balance of the product, being able to pick something that's just right for me. And I absolutely agree, making sure my skin is moisturized. And Clinique has amazing products that make my skin feel healthy and beautiful. My journey to Clinique, I've been with the brand for just under a year as the HR business partner for Clinique. And I was so excited about this opportunity to support this beautiful, iconic brand and work with all the people that are part of this experience. I was particularly excited because we had a new leader for the Clinique brand who is a wonderful, wonderful representation of inclusivity and diversity in Michelle, who is a Latina, and she's very proud to grow up in Puerto Rico. I grew up in the Caribbean, and it was just an amazing sort of match from the first, and really she sets the tone for creating an environment that respects diversity in all forms and fosters an environment of inclusivity and empowerment. To answer your question, John, about how we foster an inclusive environment at Clinique, it's something that's really important to us. It's part of our strategy as we think about building and growing our brand. And it fits really well within the overall values of ELC. We have several pillars for our strategy around inclusivity, but one of the things that I'll answer right now is around how we think about inclusivity as a culture. And it's in everything that we do in terms of how we build leadership competencies and the training and development that we provide to our leaders so that they can lead first with an inclusive mindset, how we build education and awareness so that we can have constructive conversations around differences and how to empower each other and respect each other for speaking up, having differences of opinion and working through those things in a constructive way. And then I think finally, we also want to reward and recognize inclusive behaviors. So it's part of our performance evaluation process. So it's a formal process, but there is also the second part of that is just every day saying thank you. Thank you for having that difficult conversation with me. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for providing sort of a difference of opinion. Let's explore this. Something happens and I'd like to have a conversation around that and being open and having the tools to have those conversations. So we are absolutely a work in progress. No place is perfect, but I do believe that we've been very intentional and deliberate around creating an environment where everyone feels valued and can belong.
Thank you, Renee. Let's talk a little bit about product. I see a bunch of product-based questions coming up into the chat. I want to share a couple of my friends again, Ida and Nicole's outlook on how we develop products in the context of which we're speaking today. And then we're going to circle back and we will talk product to all of these questions in the chat, if that's cool. Miss Ida, how you doing, hon?
Hi.
Long time no talk to. Listen, tell everybody a little bit about your story. I remember doing your skincare consultation.
Me too.
In the office, like
yes,
735 years ago when you first started.
I remember you slapping product on me. You're like, you need Moisture Surge.
I did not slap.
You gently hugged my face,
exactly.
Patted my face.
Talk to the participants here and tell them your journey to the brand that made my day and year and life. But then also, can you speak to how the differences in skins of all kinds of ethnicities come into play as in your role in product development, specifically thinking about product testing and formulation?
Absolutely. So I'm a beauty junkie. My dad to this day still makes fun of me. He's like, you flock to a lipstick like you never saw a lipstick before in your life. And I probably sound like that because I squeal and it hurts his ears. And I always loved, I continue to love science, writing, history. And so that really led me down a path of going pre-med, majoring in biochem with a minor in women's studies when I was in college. And quite frankly, oftentimes, probably at least once a week, I had these moments of, I really would have never thought in my school days as a biochem major that, taking courses in organic chemistry, molecular biology, pharmacology, like that would be such an influential force in my current role, day in and day out, leading skincare product development. And I actually started in the company as a formulation chemist with that technical background and then transitioned over into product development. So at Clinique, science is a big deal. And honestly, we have conversations with our marketing partners when they sometimes, they're brainstorming with us and it's all fun and trying to figure out what's trending. We always ground everybody's like, we have to respect the science, the skin physiology, the mode of action with ingredients and formulations. So everything starts from there. And back to John's question about how that influences how we think about testing, how we think about developing for all skin types and skin tones. On all fronts with the high science, the product concepting, how we learn and gain insights from our guiding dermatologists from around the world, our scientists. We're always striving to understand more about the differences of skin type and skin tone from a dermatological perspective. So not just skin type, like are you oily? But when you talk about skin type from a dermatology perspective, we're accounting for, Fitzpatrick skin types 1 through 6 from skin tonality and how those skin concerns might manifest differently on different skin tones. It's not a one size fits all. And we're very cognizant of that. And we have a lot of dialogue with our scientists about that. And so anytime we're developing products, we're always like, is that going to show up? Is that going to work on a darker skin tone? For example, from my Asian skin, it's very sensitive. I get very red very easily, and I have concerns about hyperpigmentation, but I can't tolerate a lot of skincare treatments out there. that are tackling those dark spots. And I'm scared of getting a laser because of my skin tone. I know there are limited treatment options. How I parallel that is that I learned through our scientific experts and also having lots of dialogue with Susan and even with Nicole. I know that that's actually a common pain point with women of color. And so I really channel that insight on a very personal level when I'm developing new products. And as I call it the coalition, the product development coalition, not just in Clinique, but in the organization, we're always advocating for inclusive testing on our products. Clinically testing, sensory consumer testing key products on different Fitzpatrick skin tones, and also accounting for, from the very dry to the oily skins. And Susan can attest to this very recently. I think I've annoyed her by sending like 5,000 emails to her about the same before and after image from clinical testing, because here advocating, we're like, the image that so-and-so picked didn't really show inclusiveness. And so we're here always constantly advocating as a team to not only be testing our products on a diverse panel, but also being sure that we show up visually in our brand expression and our product expression and our communication to speak to all.
Wow, thanks, Ida. And now my friend Nicole Huggins, who I get to work with all the time. Part of my job description is I lead up artistry education. So I work a lot with the makeup marketing and makeup product development team, of which Nicole is a huge part. So Nicole, can you, again, give us a little bit of your journey and talk to us about, we're on a journey and we are certainly not at the end of the journey to be as inclusive as we want to be. I, as a consultant in the 90s, had some of those same feelings Simone did when I couldn't offer a match to the client in front of me. You have done huge amounts of work along with the rest of the product development team in expanding that over the years. So if you could talk a little bit of how you do that and how you address the problem that you always say, which I love, that there's a new skin tone born every day.
Thanks, John. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nicole Huggins, and I'm the Executive Director for Global Makeup Product Development. And I, too, have always loved the Clinique brand. I was given 3-step and a super bomb from my mother as a young teen, and I was hooked because that was my makeup, that was my lipstick when I was a teen. I attended SUNY Stony Brook and began my career with the company after jumping at the chance of the joint internship that they had with the Clinique brand. And I became an R&D chemist and worked in R&D for 7 years. And then I moved over to product development in Origins and then finally Clinique. So to answer your question, John, this is such an important issue for me. And when I started with the company, at that time, the brand had a foundation lineup of about 20 shades. And when I moved to product development 7 years later, it became a mission for the brand to broaden our shade range and improve our offering for people of color. And I was privileged to be part of this initiative. And as Ida and Simone mentioned earlier, our skincare products are tested on all skin types and all skin tones. And we take everything that we learned from skincare and translate it into our makeup products. At the time, our research and development team did a lot of work building an ongoing database of skin tone measurements with real people from around the world. They measured women from regions such as the UK and India and South Africa, Latin America, and Asia. And so in 2018, we worked with R&D and this database to expand our beloved Even Better Foundation to 50 beautiful global skin tone shades. It's now used as our benchmark shade range, with all of our foundation launches and everything coming in the future. So like John said, we like to say a new skin tone is born every single day. And it's a phrase that we say to help keep us accountable in the foundation category and hold that commitment to have an inclusive selection of shades. So yes, it is an ongoing journey. We will always continue to reassess our shade assortment based on any new learnings that we receive from R&D partners.
Sorry, my voice just stopped working for one moment. Awesome, Nicole. And you guys even went off and took tours around the globe to find like real life skin tones to take a look at, because it's not about looking at a bunch of swatches and going, oh, let's put one here in the middle, right?
That's correct. I mean, what we did, we basically worked with R&D and took measurements of actual women and took those shades and then put it into a database. And that's what we used. We didn't take like a prototype from another brand and then match that shade. We literally wanted real skin tones so that we actually captured the skin tones of real women around the world.
Beautiful. Thanks, you guys. I think we have a little bit of time to answer a couple questions from the chat. I've been trying to watch, but I've also been trying to listen. So is there anything overriding, team, as you've been watching the chat that we should address here? No, early on somebody asked about hand cream. My favorite is Deep Comfort Body Moisturizer. It's at Clinique. I use it everywhere. It's great for your hands as well.
I think there was a great question about aging skin, which would be wonderful to speak to.
Yeah. Is it the aging? Are there any
What would be a great aging serum? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are probably several answers to that question, because one of the things that we know is that every skin ages a little bit differently. So someone of my skin tone at 59 years old has aged in a certain way. The first thing that happened to my skin, being this fair, was lines and wrinkles, and then I started getting dark spots too. So I'm sort of a multi-person here. Whereas somebody of an Asian ethnic origin may get dark spots first, or a deeper color for an African-American skin would also probably discolor first before the lines and wrinkles would happen. So at Clinique, what we would do first is, instead of saying, oh, you're aging, here's our aging serum, what we would say is like, tell me about your skin and what's happening with it as your skin is aging. So if discoloration and dark spots is what's going on with your skin tone right now, as your skin ages, we have a line of products called Even Better that addresses that very specifically. There's a serum, a set of moisturizers day and night, as well as foundations and makeups that also address the skin tone as you wear it. So not only is your skincare working on your skin, but you can cover and have that perfection right away. And every time you wear your makeup, you're making your skin look a little better as well. If lines and wrinkles is your thing, like me, you're probably a Clinique Smart serum person. And Ida, I'm gonna tap you for something really technical, because you're our technical guru. Because I saw going in here, there was a question about serums and aging skin and retinol, and retinols being irritating, especially to any kind of sensitive skin. So if you could maybe talk a little bit about like what's new and maybe what's coming.
Sure. I mean, retinol, I think, is one of those ingredients that, many people are curious about. It's like that panacea, like that, it covers all sorts of different concerns, from lines and wrinkles to evening skin tone, but not everybody can tolerate it. So I would say that if you're interested in using a retinol product or a retinol derived product, you got to start slow. Like for me, I had to start using, very sparingly, a retinol product at night, and then I would do every 2 nights. So you can't use it every night, and you have to build tolerance to eventually getting to using retinol on a regular basis. And if you went to the dermatologist would also recommend that type of integration program when you incorporate retinol or a retinol derivative into your skincare regimen. There are some products that are a specific type of retinoid derivative that can be used day and night, but most retinol products that you'll see on the market, for one of Clinique's current product is Smart Night Retinol Treatment. That's meant for nighttime use because retinol tends to cause sensitization in UV exposure. So if you're not using an SPF, you must use an SPF. You should always be using an SPF. But certainly if you're using a retinol product, you really need to use SPF because you will notice that your skin is going to be even more easily sensitized with UV exposure. But I am a big advocate of retinol products, because from people who have acne to then people who have enlarged pores to pore texture to concerns with lines and wrinkles, retinol is just one of those ingredients that just covers the gamut. And it's just about safely and carefully integrating that into your regimen. And a moisturizer. You may find that your skin is, sorry, you may find, I get very lectury. John knows that when it gets to skincare and consultation. A good moisturizer, and this is where your night moisturizer is going to come in to help strengthen that barrier, replenish the moisture, because as skin's going through that retinization, which is the natural cell renewal cycle and that turnover, and you get a little flaky, that flaking is not like your skin is necessarily irritated. It's just now turning over to remove that damaged skin cell, so that you have that renewed baby soft skin after a few days or up to 2 weeks that you've built tolerance to the retinol. So a good moisturizer is going to be critical.
Perfect. And there were a couple questions about what SPF day moisturizer we would recommend. Again, we have several different ones based on what's going on with your skin. A really beautiful all-purpose one, if you're just about protecting your skin, would be our Super Defense SPF 25, which is fantastic. But again, it could depend on what's going on with your skin. If you're addressing discoloration or lines and wrinkles, we have a day cream for either one of those in our Smart or even better lines. Let's see, I know we're pushing up against time, but I want to answer as many questions as possible. Is toner really necessary? Toner, not so much. Toner is really more of an aesthetic kind of feel. When we talk about Clinique, we do talk about our clarifying lotion, and people think of that as a toner, but it's really actually an exfoliating step. So it's different from a toner. So that's about getting rid of the dead skin cells that Ida was talking about, clearing the way so that moisturizer or moisturizer or serums can absorb very efficiently, and you have a really nice smooth surface. Golly, ooh, it's already 7 o'clock and there's a million questions. There's one here that, is there anything in here that is urgent? If not, team, can we collect some of these questions and maybe answer them in writing for the folks?
You can do that, John.
Perfect, because I don't want to leave anybody out, but I also want to honor everybody's schedule. So at that point, I just want to thank you from the Clinique team. We're so honored to be a part of this program. And we feel very blessed that we're able to share some of what we love about our brand and answer some, but seriously, not all of your questions. But we will do everything we can to get those answers to you. And on behalf of the whole team and Simone, who is watching her boy Max walk across the stage today, we want to say thank you. And I will pass it back to Ms. Sharon Strange-Lewis.
Thank you so much. This has been, as always, an amazing, amazing event. I am Sharon Strange-Lewis, Director of Alumni Relations at Howard University, and this has been such an amazing 60 minutes full of transparency. I just want to be transparent with you all. I am a Clinique user. My husband gave me Clinique. He introduced me to the product one Christmas. And I was a little bit in my feelings because I was expecting something sparkly and shiny like jewelry or something. And I opened it and it's Clinique. But that night when I used it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And I have been using it ever since. So I am really grateful for him for introducing me to the brand. And I am definitely a big fan of it. I just want to give a big bison thank you to Nicole Munson for that beautiful introduction, launching this event tonight. And I want to give a bison thank you to Susan. We are going to call you a bison since you are part of a bison family. Thank you so much for those words of inspiration of how your journey unveiled at Clinique. And I believe my husband must have followed your marketing and when he purchased the Clinique for me. I have a couple of takeaways. I love takeaways. So one is Clinique is known for what it doesn't have. So it's fragrance free and it doesn't have a lot of products that irritate skin. And I love what you all say about Clinique is in service to all skins. I mean, how amazing is that to know that there is a product out there that meets the requirements of any type of skin out there. So I just really commend you all for your efforts in that space. And as always, I heard someone talk about being inclusive and empowering employees. I'm getting a little tongue twisted tonight. I just think that every time you all have a brand expo in She's Howard Own Your Power, it is very obvious that your company is really one of the founding pillars is how you allow your employees to show up and how you are always inclusive of what they bring to the table. So once again, we heard that in the remarks. And so we really want you to continue to take this She's Howard journey with us. Look out for an invitation to participate in the Accelerator program, which launches in September. You all should receive an invitation to apply for that program in your inbox. And don't forget to register for our next She's Howard event, which is a fireside chat with David Smith, who is the Senior Vice President of Business Development at ELC on July 14th. Thank you so much for taking this journey with us, and always, always remember to own your power. Have a good evening, everyone.